All right, folks, we have a lot of recent developments in the economy here. Things are changing day by day. Going back to the beginning of the year, it was looking like there was going to be some major fireworks popping off with all the people getting laid off and agencies being cut, people being let go. Of course, the tariffs added more uncertainty on top of that. So we're seeing a lot of those things, though, have pretty much subsided. The tariffs were dropped down to a few months of a pause at a lower amount. So we're going to see how that plays out. That's still going to be yet to be determined on what that's going to end up looking like. So it's day to day. Another thing just changed today. We reported about this previously that people that didn't pay their student loans were going to be reported to collection agencies and even getting their wages garnished. Well, it since has changed. Actually, just today, we've got this new report out saying that Social Security recipients actually will not get their wages garnished. The administration changes won't cut Social Security benefits over defaulted student loans. If you were on this channel, you probably remember us talking about what was going to happen before this. But now the recipients do not need to worry about their benefits being garnished due to defaulted student loans, at least for now. The development is an abrupt change in policy by the administration, which had announced in April it would be resuming collection activity on defaulted student loan borrowers. And part of that collection activity was going to be garnishing wages for people, including Social Security recipients. So obviously they got a lot of backlash on that, and that would have had major impact on the economy. And you would have probably, if you would have had Social Security getting garnished from tens of millions of people, you would have seen a huge drop in rent prices because people would have been evicted like never before. So of course they don't want that to happen. So they're going to change things as they go along to prevent the major fallout. So for now, instead of a flood, it's more of a trickle. If you want to put at it in that terms or look at it in that term, things are being done to change things. The economy's changing, but it's not going to be a massive correction or collapse like some people had hoped. Other people hadn't hoped for it. Other people wanted things to just continue as is with nonstop inflation. All right, but let's jump into the housing market, folks, because the housing bubble is something that so many people are paying attention to, and it's one of the backbones of the economy. It's actually the biggest asset that most people will own throughout their entire life, unless you're talking about commercial buildings or stuff like that. But it's the biggest investment that most people make, and it's the main driver of the economy. In fact, if you look at all the real estate values, it's the biggest in the world as far as any asset class, United States real estate. But right now, things are shifting, things are changing, a lot of different dynamics to look at. Mortgage rates, of course, the number of homes on the market and inventory versus how many people are buying homes, cash buyers with investment companies coming out and buying homes, right? Sometimes every 1 in 2 homes that are bought by billionaire investment companies like here in California. But look at this chart here, folks. This shows a major dynamic change in the real estate market. And right now we've got the number of buyers is there's nearly 500,000 more sellers than buyers right now. And if you look down at the chart, they've been keeping track of this since 2013. So in about 12 years, we've never seen this big a separation between the number of sellers, which is close to 2 million, and the number of buyers, which is 1.4 million. Even back when it was kind of wide back here, it was about 2 million buyers versus 2.5 million sellers. So we're seeing right now the biggest separation that we've seen since they've been keeping records in 2013. And the thing to keep in mind about this is we're just at the beginning of prime real estate season. Typically, the most listings that you see are in June, July, and August. And sometimes if it's a slow year, listings will increase up into the fall, into the winter. But the point is we're just at the beginning, and we could see inventory increase a lot before the end of the year. And could this be the year of a bubble going bust, of a major shift or change or reversal in the real estate market? I've got some people that I keep an eye on social media, people that are heavily involved in real estate, and pretty much they cite the same statistics that I do. But some of them are saying this is the year, but of course some of the same people said it last year and also in 2020. And I was one of the few people, maybe one of the only people, to say that no, it's going to be inflationary, because just like we talked about with the student loans and the Social Security recipients having their wages garnished, they're not going to let a complete collapse happen in the markets. They will come in and buy real estate. I'm convinced that the powers that be would come in and buy real estate themselves instead of letting prices drop significantly, right? Or they could contract other agencies or entities to come out and buy these homes to prevent prices from collapsing. That's how strongly I feel that this market, as well as the entire economy, is completely controlled and manipulated. Now, if you've been watching the news, we've recently seen a fallout with the current administration. We had Elon out there criticizing the spending package, which they called the Big Beautiful Bill, which was really a big bad bill, or big awful bill, big ugly bill. When you look at the amount of spending, and it's deficit spending, it's money we don't have, and it's just going to increase the debt more. So, of course, now there's a divide, because what have I been saying here in this channel? I said not many things that are being promised are going to happen. We were told prices were going to come down on day one. Didn't happen. Prices are still rising. We were told wars were going to come to an abrupt end on day one. Hasn't happened. The wars have actually escalated. So, in fact, not only have we not seen happen what we were promised was going to happen, it's been the opposite. Things have gotten worse. Instead of the cost of living coming down, it's just went up, continued to go up. Not only stayed level, not only did it not stay level, it's actually going up, because inflation is still in a positive number right now. We also have things, though, that are very interesting when you look at how money is being spent in this country. We've got preparations going on for the largest military parade on the Capitol's streets in decades, featuring 7 million pounds of hardware. It's kind of a weird way to put it, 7 million pounds of hardware. 7,000 soldiers are going to participate. Efforts have cost more than $3 million so far. Could be as high as $45 million, folks. Does anybody want to see some tanks and some whatever troops marching through the streets? Is that something that you want to see? Is that cool? To me, it reminds me something out of like maybe a country over in Asia or something like that. With, even Russia, like a display of military might. Like, what's it going to accomplish? One, do people really want to see that? And would you want to see it? I mean, please let me know down in the comments. Do you want to pay, and maybe your tax dollars will go towards this, do you want to pay $45 million? That's the high estimate. Then how much is it going to cost to have a bunch of military equipment and military personnel marched through the streets? Is that something that you feel is a wise choice, right? So this is just one example of how things are just, they're changing, but they don't seem to be changing for the better. I mean, many people are convinced that things that are happening right now are really going to help everybody. That manufacturing jobs are going to come back. That's the next shoe to drop, folks. I don't think we're going to see manufacturing jobs come back on a massive scale. You may see a few come back, but the cost of living is too high. Companies are not going to want to relocate to the U.S. That's the big elephant in the room that I don't think anybody's talking about. And that's going to be another disaster. But on top of the previous disasters, I mean, people are just pretty much choosing your disaster, right? Do you want it to be really bad or really awful? I mean, there's not much of a choice here, but that's what's happening. But if you play your cards correctly, you can make money off this. And that's what we're going to talk about here in a little bit as we get into more of the talk about the market. But first, let's talk about this latest unemployment number. It held steady now for the third straight month, which is 4.2%. Right? And I don't give that number a lot of merit because we know that the real number that we should look at is labor force participation. That continues to get worse. Even since the beginning of this year, that participation rate has gotten much worse. The third consecutive month, 625,000 people dropped out of the labor force, suggesting a lack of confidence in the jobs market. Surveys have shown that consumers are less optimistic about their prospects of finding a job in the event of being laid off, right? So we got all these different things happening, folks. Also, the jobs numbers aren't looking so great either here. We've got payrolls increased by 139,000. That's a little bit more than expected, but that's not a lot of people being added, folks. When you look at the 600-something thousand now dropped out of the labor force just in the past month, 139,000 payroll increase is nothing. In fact, it's pretty sad. All right, folks, moving on here. We've got this news out of Hooters. We first talked about this at the beginning of the year, that Hooters was going bankrupt and that they were going to try to keep open many locations. Now, of course, you might know people go to Hooters for their big, big plates of chicken. Big plates of chicken. What do you think I was going to say? Big plates of chicken, right? At Hooters. Now, people go there, but they're not going there. So what is going on? Are people spending their money somewhere else on different types of entertainment instead of going to see these servers here? Well, what's happened here recently is this restaurant abruptly closes dozens of locations. They closed after 2 months that the company said it would be reviewing its operational footprint after filing a Chapter 11 bankruptcy. So Chapter 11 means you don't shut down and liquidate, you reorganize. And apparently the reorganization is not something that they were able to do. After careful consideration of what is needed to best position the company for the future, Hooters made the difficult decision to close certain company-owned locations effective in June. This month here, a company spokesperson said, for the casual dining chain. So what's happening? Why are there shifts happening? Why are some restaurants closing and other restaurants opening up more locations? Well, they probably had to pay these people, these servers, these servers there that you just saw in the picture. They probably had to pay them above average to walk around in those types of uniforms or costume, whatever you want to call them, costumes, uniforms, because also people probably were expected to tip more. And we know what's happening with the tipping culture right now. It's not so good. I'm seeing a lot of videos out there about people arguing that they're not getting enough tips, staff arguing over tips, people looking at signs inside of stores saying you must tip this much. This is mandatory, stuff like that. Mandatory tips. I think the whole thing is just weird. So now they're trying to talk about, the administration is talking about not even taxing tips. So maybe that'll help that whole situation. But to me, the tip culture right now is pretty bad. So I think places like Hooters, where people are expected to make big tips off of something that rhymes with that, probably are going to be struggling here. But moving on, folks, car prices declined in May according to the Manheim Used Vehicle Index. But that's not the big story here. Look at the big story, which I think is, zoom in here. Look where prices still are compared to pre-2020, folks. So we've only dropped or gained back about maybe 30% of the price increases, right? So if you look at the price increase from 2020 to where it peaked out in 2022, we've only dropped back down maybe about 30% of what we saw on the increase, right? So things are not getting more affordable, and I'm not sure if we're ever going to see pre-2020 levels, even though that's what we were told. And folks, it all goes back to the banks. It all comes back to the lending of money, banks not being held accountable for the money they loan out because they know they're just going to get rescued in the end with helicopter money. So right now there's no fear of loaning out money, even to people that they probably know will never pay back the money. I mean, look at the student loans. People then in their 50s, 60s, and 70s that collect Social Security even have student loans they still haven't paid off. So they had to know, with the cost of college and the cost of education way back when the loans were being issued, they had to know that these people probably weren't ever going to pay back these loans, but they still loaned out the money anyways because the system of money we have right now, where there's no repercussions, and banks and lending institutions actually don't ever have to face the consequences of loaning out money that they know is not going to be paid back. You know what I'm saying here? Does that make sense? All right, moving on here, people. Walmart, they're going to be expanding their drone deliveries. This to me is not good news. They're adding 3 more states on here. They're going to expand the drone deliveries to customers from 100 different stores, from Atlanta to Houston to Orlando to Tampa within the coming year. To me, that's not good news because the skies are already a disaster. All the crashes that we've been seeing here lately, the plane malfunctions, the emergency landings, the near collisions and collisions at runways. And we just had a small plane crash here in San Diego a month ago, maybe 3 weeks ago. And it just seems to be happening more frequently. A lot of big problems with Boeing and those planes. And now we're going to have a bunch of other drones in the air. Hopefully it won't disrupt the planes coming in out of the airports. But to me, I think that's very concerning. We also have these Waymo driverless vehicles going through the streets in some cities, which is causing some problems. I've been watching a lot of videos where the empty vehicle just basically sits there when there's construction or something that it doesn't expect because it's not mapped out. If there's something that's newly developed, like new construction, so they can cause big problems. So I don't like these drone deliveries, the autonomous vehicles. Not liking the direction this whole thing is headed here. But let me know what you think about the economy, folks. The unemployment numbers stayed steady. What's happening with the labor force participation rate, though? We see that's gotten a lot worse. And we see the jobs numbers are pretty abysmal. They're changing things, like the people that were going to get laid off are not going to be laid off because of a court order. So what does this all lead to, folks? It leads to uncertainty, of course, but what does it lead to in your opinion? What are you doing with your money? Are you investing? Are you chilling right now with your money, for lack of a better term? You waiting for a collapse? People still think there's going to be some sort of collapse, rug pull, dynamic event unfolding that's going to bring this whole house of cards down. Is it going to be war, World War III? I mean, people have been talking about that for a while too. Things are escalating, and we'll see how it plays out. But let me know about this down in the comments. Let me know your thoughts, and let me know where you're at, folks. Keep stacking. We're going to wrap this up now. Bye for now. Peace.